Hey Leo, welcome to September 2020. So, of course, I'm pulling archetypes for everyone again, and this month I got for you the unseen, which is what it sounds like. It's sort of the stuff that we can't see, that may or may not be real, that we kind of have to have faith in. So, ghosts, aliens, gods, Santa Claus. I mean, it's all the stuff about our world that we don't have proof of, but that maybe we have inklings about. Um, in addition to this, I wanted to say that like a lot of my readings that I've been doing for all the signs have kind of been coming up with these themes of being like having kind of your reality challenged, your sense of reality challenged, right? So I'm gonna start pulling cards, but obviously the collective is going through the apocalypse, which is the lifting of the veil. So it seems like the distance between our world and maybe other dimensions is very thin or porous in general right now. But for you, as a Leo, that is coming up, and we'll see how it's coming up. But if this month you are kind of like questioning something or having your mind blown a little bit, I guess I wouldn't be too surprised. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like something I've been thinking about lately for myself is like one time I went to Palm Springs and there was this light in the distance in the sky, and it really looked like an alien. It looked like something I had not seen before. It was very bright. It was one specific light. It wasn't like an airplane, but it was an airplane, but it didn't look like an airplane, right? It could have been something else. And it really gave me like this feeling of just like, so I think with the unseen, it's also almost more of a feeling of like part of you or part of us, part of like being human and interested in weird shit like tarot. Not that it's that weird anymore. You can buy decks at Urban Outfitters, but like it's kind of like magic is maybe not real, but it's fun to believe. But then if it is real, then it really challenges a lot that we had or preconceived notions. So we have to rethink a lot. That's sort of the top of your reading. We got the Nine of Swords in reverse. We got the Magician in reverse. We got the Ten of Cups. Two of Swords in reverse. Ten of Swords in reverse and Knight of Cups. Does anything else want to come up? I don't know. Sure. Okay, we got a lot now. Strength in reverse. Seven of Swords. The World. The Empress, and Ten of Wands. Okay. So, I really was drawn to this Ten of Cups. I feel like generally, and I mean even the world, right? I feel like generally something good is happening for you overall, right? It really feels like you're kind of getting a happy ending. The world is a completion of a cycle. There's a lot of completion of cycles, right? You got a lot of tens here. You got Ten of Wands. You got Ten of Swords. So there's completions for sure in your picture. The world is the major end of a cycle, end of some major karmic loops or whatever. And the Ten of Cups is the happy ending. This is another 10. But I wanted to talk about the Ten of Cups in particular with the world because I think that sometimes, and this is sort of feels like, okay, anyway, whatever. Sometimes I think having good things happen for us is scary. And I don't know why. It's just because it's change, really. Or because it makes us have to... So much of my readings feel like they're just the same reading over and over again, but whatever. I guess it's just kind of the themes at play. So a lot of this too is about vulnerability, right? Like Knight of Cups. This is all about emotions and maybe like offers of emotions. And I think really letting yourself be happy. But I think being happy can sometimes feel like a risk. And why? I mean, it's because of this energy of the unseen, right? By entering into a new dynamic of being happy, we have to change a lot of our preconceived notions about, you know, anxiety that we've been carrying, burdens that we've been carrying, lies, deception, bullshit that we've been kind of like holding on to. Okay, so let's talk about that. So, Leo, something good happens for you, and you're exiting in a way this dark night of the soul period with this and with this. Sorry, there was like a little, okay, right? There was a dark night of the soul for you, and it was just like, oh man, I've been talking about Castaway a lot, so I'll talk about Castaway. This kind of like that. Tom Hanks, for 4 years, is trying to get off this island, right? He's trapped there, and he's literally like, at some point, spoilers, you should have seen it, it's 20 years old by now. At some point, he's like, gonna kill himself, and he's like, no, I'm just gonna like, go out into the ocean, kind of risk it all, go into the ocean being the unseen, right? I'm gonna take kind of this, I wouldn't even call it a leap of faith, but it's like, I'm just gonna take this kind of risk to literally put myself out there onto the ocean to see if I can find salvation or be saved that way, right? And maybe he plans on, or a part of him thinks, this isn't gonna work out, I'm gonna die here, but I'm letting go. So Leo, it's like this month, it's like you're taking this risk of like, I'm gonna let go of indecision and just make a choice. I'm letting go of this cycle of just being in pain and like feeling stuck and trapped and feeling like anxious all the time. And I'm releasing that. I'm releasing kind of my conviction in my fears. We do have the Strength in reverse, which is you in reverse, which is like interesting to me. Maybe there's a part of you that just sort of like has your doubts still, or a part of you that like doesn't want to believe in your own strength or your own courage. I don't know why per se, but again, probably about this ultimate fear of the unknown, because the unknown is kind of the ultimate scary thing, right? It's basically the unknown is death. We just don't know. None of us do. And so unknown situations, even when not death, literal death isn't at risk, it's still sort of like we're stepping into a new cycle where we are ultimately stepping into a new identity. So I feel like it's like you're kind of like ebbing and flowing between, I know I can't go on in this pain cycle anymore, right? Like, I know I can't go on in my dark night of the soul. I know that this is untenable, so I'm gonna have to release it, and I'm gonna have to take this risk. But I do feel like with this, and with the Magician in reverse, it's like maybe there's just some doubt. So, you know, Tom Hanks goes out in the ocean, but maybe he legitimately thinks he's gonna die there. Maybe he doesn't really actually have hope that leaving this bad situation is going to be better for him. He just knows, I gotta do something. So this could be like you being in a bad relationship, and you've been staying in the bad relationship, and maybe you're finally leaving. But when you leave, you're not leaving thinking like, oh, my life's going to get better now, or I'm going to have a happy ending. Like, I don't think whatever you're doing at the top of September is about you, actually having that much like belief in what you're doing, as much as it's just kind of like you've reached the end of your rope, and so now the unknown, although it is like a challenge, it still kind of feels like the only option you have. Like, you've tried all your other options. And I'm not trying to predict doom or anything. If this resonates with you, I'm just trying to validate feelings that may come up for you based on these cards and these energies, which is like, I've been anxious for too long, but I just can't stay here and be anxious. I can't hang on to the lack of knowing. I just have to do something. I can't sit here in this pain anymore, but I also don't really, like, even though I'm trying to manifest something new, and even though I'm going after my true self and, like, calling on my strength, I don't necessarily kind of anticipate that it's going to work out, because it is this unseen situation, right? Like, I don't, like, it's like the feeling of, like, I don't really know what I'm doing. But it does have a happy ending, right? In Castaway, he does get saved. And that's what that's what I started with here too. And so when I was talking about the unseen, it's like, okay, I've entered the unknown now. I've exited the old pain cycle. I've overcome the lies and self-sabotage and, like, you know, betrayal of myself and my lack of self-trust. I'm seeing this very clearly and identifying the patterns and making some change about it. And I'm acknowledging that I've been burdened by my situation, right? I don't know what your situation is. It could be a job that you've hated, that you're finally quitting, but you're quitting it not necessarily believing that you're going to get the dream job. You're just like, I just can't stay in the shitty job anymore. So it's like, with these, I feel like this is what you've been kind of like, you've almost been like worshiping this energy is kind of what I want to say, right? Like, this has been like a martyr complex that you've been kind of like identifying with for so long, of like, I'm gonna carry all these burdens and I'm gonna like lie to myself about how heavy all this shit is just because it's like how I've formed and constructed my identity. But like, and maybe to bring it back to strength, which was in reverse, it's like maybe part of you identified your strength as like all of this kind of self-sacrificey energy, right? And now that you're letting go of that, you're letting go of the negativity, but you're like, well, then who am I if I'm not, if my life isn't about, you know, kind of being there for everyone else and for their needs, then like, what am I? Like, there's just a little bit with the Magician and the Strength card. I feel like you not knowing what it is that you're doing now, you just know you can't go on. And so that's the unseen, right? That's the you just being like, I just gotta do something different, and I don't know what that is, and I'm getting maybe some inklings or intuitions, or feel like I'm kind of being guided. Also, so it's just sort of like, and then, you know, thinking about like Tom Hanks, like, well, he goes back to his old life, but like, his old life isn't really there anymore for him, so he has to create a new self. So with the World and the Ten of Cups and the Knight of Cups and the Empress, it's like, okay, I left the bad situation and I wasn't really planning on anything working out for me, but because I, you know, kind of had the conviction to do something, anything, I'm being rewarded. I'm like, you're finding that like, oh, the completion of that old cycle actually is about a happy ending. It's about, I mean, you're on this card, the World. This is Aquarius. I believe that's Taurus and Scorpio and Leo energy. I think these are all the fixed signs. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But like, with this, I think the World, you're kind of like, yeah, you made it, right? You made it out of the dark night of the soul and like kind of inexplicably have found yourself in the happy ending. It's kind of like you weren't really planning on entering paradise or like planning on like getting to this really good spot. You were just trying to get out of the bad spot. But like the unseen, like by taking kind of that, just like, I'm just gonna go with what I don't know and just take that chance. It's like going through that portal has these great rewards of a happy ending, I swear. Like, happy ending, the World, the completion, the like, you did it. Like, you completed your karma, you faced the fears, you overcame it, you took the leap, you had the faith. And so it's like, here is the message, or like the the person. Maybe this is like a new love interest, who knows, I don't know. But like this is like, or like the new job offer, but like it's emotional fulfillment. Like the Knight of Cups is bringing, it's like your knight in shining armor. Like your knight in shining armor was really yourself, but also it's like kind of something else outside of you, like kind of grabbing your hand, right? It's like Tom Hanks took the leap to get out onto the ocean, but the Knight of Cups energy is like that boat that sails by that like takes him out of the ocean and like, you know, gives him a haircut, gets him some clothes, gets him on a plane, right? It's like kind of, you can't really do it all on your own. You are, for most of this journey in September, doing it on your own, but eventually, because you've stepped up for yourself and completed that cycle of like maybe again talking about like you're ending your martyr complex a little bit, and like the self-sacrificing or the bad situation that you just felt you had to be trapped in, since you're ending that, it's like there's an offer for you to receive, right? Because I feel like a lot of this too is about having given over, being like in a space of overgiving and giving to your own detriment. Because you're a Leo, I often think of Leos as being actors. You're fixed fire, so you're a light that stays in one place and shines to kind of like guide everyone else, right? And so being a fixed sign, it's like, I think there's like a loyalty you feel to one spot, right? You like feel like, well, I'd gotta be here doing this one thing. And it doesn't have to be literally being physically in one place, but it could be. But it's like, I'm here in this one place because that's my duty, that's my job, that's my like purpose, that's who I am. So again, I talked about you're kind of like letting go of that conception of yourself as having to be here in this one space where you're burdened and overgiving and lying to yourself about what you need. And you're letting go of the anxiety and the cycle of pain and the indecision about leaving and completing it, right? And ending that pattern. And now you're in this different state of receiving. And so with a fire, I mean, if you're fire energy, it's like a fire still needs to be tended to, right? A fire still has its own needs. Like even if your job is to shine and be in one spot, it's like people, like fire needs kindling, fire needs kind of like air sometimes, fire needs a lot of different, or it needs fuel, right? There's stuff that you need to be able to like be yourself just as a human, but also since we're talking about fire energy. So with the Empress, I feel like this is you kind of like maybe healing some also like the divine feminine within you. Like maybe as a Leo, you it's like, it feels like the whole thing is, but like I've been giving and giving and giving, but I really need to be given back. I really need to be seen and received, and I really need to receive other people's kind of emotional support. And I think you're getting that. Like you couldn't do it all on your own, and now that you've shown the universe that you'll step up for yourself, you're being given back that support. And it's like kind of like finally, now that you're showing yourself support, other people are showing you support, and it's being reflected back to you in a way such that like things are just going to get easier and brighter and happier and lighter from here on out, right? So you are reaching kind of a happy ending in September, but it feels like you're reaching the happy ending because you are willing to kind of end a pattern within yourself of overgiving and giving to your own giving to your own detriment, and self-sacrificing and being in a martyr complex of kind of putting up with untenable, unhappy situations where really no one is happy, and you're exiting them, not necessarily having a strong belief that like you're doing it for this, right? Like I don't think that's your motivation, but I think that you will be pleasantly surprised that showing up for yourself helps other people to show up for you too. And then when they start showing up for you and you start showing up for yourself more, things are more harmonious, more balanced, like happier. It's just kind of like there's a little bit more joy and ease in your life where you're like, oh, that's amazing. And that all really had to do with this faith of, I think, stepping into the unknown, or trusting kind of maybe these intuitions or ideas, or kind of like being willing to challenge your perception of reality, right? Like part of the reason maybe why you've been stuck is because you thought like that's just the way reality is, that's just the way life is. But this is you kind of being willing to challenge, like maybe life doesn't always have to be hard. Maybe life can be filled with joy and ease sometimes. Like maybe that there's a world where that's possible, and it is. So, but it's like you have to take that first step and initiative of like getting out of the bad, right? It's kind of up to you. So that's it. That's your reading. Whew. And I'm wishing you all the best, and I love you, and I will see you again in October. Okay. Bye.